Number 8 reads, for the combination of resistors shown in the drawing, R1 is 63 ohms, R2 is 80 ohms, 80 ohms. Find the equivalent resistance between point A and B. Okay? So what's interesting on this one is we have a series parallel combination. This is my sketch, okay? So I'm not going to redraw it. That's okay. And all we're trying to do is we're trying to find the equivalent total resistance. Is another way to look at that. REQ or R total. Same idea, okay? So the first thing you have to realize is in series, okay, for a series combination, this is the equation we're going to use. The total resistance just adds up. R1 plus R2 plus R3, etc. So in other words, if I have a 10 ohm, 10 ohm, and 10 ohm resistor, the total resistance would be 30 ohms. But in parallel, you have to use a parallel equation. In parallel, the resistance divides. It's 1 over the R total is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2 plus 1 over R3, etc. Or another way to write this that I like better, okay, is if I invert the whole thing, I can just raise this to the negative first power. It's an easier way to find it, okay? So in other words, in parallel, if I have a 10 ohm, a 10 ohm, and a 10 ohm, it's not 30 ohms. It's actually 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10, which is 3/10 or 10/3. It gets chopped in thirds. It's 3.33 ohms. I have a 3-lane highway instead of a 1-lane highway, okay? So in parallel, the resistance divides. So the way I would do this is I would first simplify this. The equivalent resistance here in parallel, our total, would just be 1 over 65 plus 1 over 80, and then I have to invert the whole thing. In other words, it's going to be less than 65 and 80 together because they're in parallel, okay? So I'm going to do, watch out for order of operations, okay? 1 over 65 plus 1 divided by 80, and then I can raise that whole thing to the negative first power because it's a reciprocal of that. So that parallel equation is a little bit tricky. 35.86. And then all I have to do now is add on 63 ohms to get my final answer, okay? 5 plus 3 is 8, 6 plus 3 is 9. It'll be 98.86 ohms because in series we just added on. And that's it, number 8. Good luck.